Hi, welcome to the presentation. My name is Dave MacArthur, and I am going to attempt to put this together as succinctly, as efficiently, and as fast as I can, but still keep the content complete. And I really do believe that this has the ability to change your life for the rest of your life. So I would encourage you to not be distracted. Sit down in a quiet place where you can take some notes, maybe some screenshots, some things to remind you, and really get absorbed in the information here. I've been with Isogenics now for just over 20 years. Cumulatively, me and my wife have earned close to $12 million now. And I was a mechanic prior to Isogenics. I have no formal education. I dropped out of high school. There's nothing special about me other than just that I gave what I feel was the attention and focus to the things that were important to help me to achieve and accomplish the success and make the impact and transformations in other people's lives that we've been able to. So really focus and concentration is of the utmost importance right now. And I don't beat around the bush with things. I don't exaggerate. I'm going to give it to you straightforward. And then every Thursday mornings, um, I will be doing this presentation live. So you can tap into the presentation and ask questions and invite guests or share this recording with them. I encourage both. Let's create a real amazing culture and community around this movement. Before I get started, I just want to put the disclaimer out there to protect myself, the company. The results that we receive in life obviously are based on what we put into it, the time, the focus, the commitment. All of these and other factors play a role in our personal success. All right, so I had dreams before Isogenics, and I was working on trying to fulfill those dreams. I had my own automotive shop. I took the risk and put in the time commitments and all of the things and the stresses that go along with opening my own shop. And after about 4 years of doing that, it was a very successful shop. However, that shop owned me. I spent less time with my family and more time at that shop, and it just wasn't the direction I wanted to go. So after 4 years, I walked away from it. And it wasn't very long after that that Isogenics had showed up in my life based on some things that I was doing that attracted it into my life. I went to a dream workshop, created a dream workbook, which would be more considered like a vision board now. And I really concentrated on that. And 5 months later, Isogenics showed up. And within 9 months, all the dreams that I had in that book were fulfilled, from the house that we wanted to live in, the kind of cars we want to drive, the kind of vacations, to the impact that I wanted to make in other people's lives. All of them within 9 months were all completed in that dream book. And it's just been one successful, magnificent win to the next. In that process, over the 20 years, I've created a podcast that I did for about 6 years. It was ranked number 13th in the world by Inc. magazine, millions and millions of downloads. Just I've accomplished all kinds of amazing things that I would have before never thought were really possible. But stair stepping those and accomplishing the dreams today, again, I would have never imagined doing that back when I got started, but it's been a process. And I want to bless other people's lives. That's been my whole mission for the last 20 years, through what I do in Isogenics and through personal development, through things like the podcast. And my greatest interest is in helping people to take their lives as far as they want to, as you know, as high as they want to take their lives, and accomplish different successes, and then stair step those in their lives as well. That's what really drives me and brings me the greatest joy. However, being able to live a life of freedom financially has been another goal of mine, and to be able to do that and to have those experiences and that quality time and the fulfillment that that brings to me for things that I've accomplished and how that's touched other people's lives and my own life has been really fulfilling. So I want to go into the exact steps that I learned and the steps that I followed that anybody could follow. I didn't have any financial, nest egg to be able to invest to make more money. I didn't have that. I was living paycheck to paycheck at the time. In fact, I had a paper route. I was throwing newspapers every single morning at 4:30, and then I'd go into work at the dealership where, I had my own shop, but then I went back to the dealership. It was less stress, and at least I got my weekends back and 2 weeks vacation. And so that's where I was at when Isogenics showed up. Paper out, working at the dealership, fixing cars, and then fixing cars at night to make some extra income. So we were struggling financially. So there was nothing special, no advantages that I had, just the opportunities presented themselves. And as I took the time and concentrated, like I'm asking you to do now, I saw very clearly, and I took the very specific steps that I'm going to share with you today. So, what are your dreams? Where are you at right now in your life? Are there things that are unfulfilled, things that you're still striving to accomplish, and dreams that you would like to create in your life? And if so, then I'm telling you right now, financially, you could set yourself free through what I'm about to share with you. It's just a decision. The actions, every single person can take them. The actions that I'm going to share with you, and they're not a lot, and it's not asking you to be this amazing person that has all these skills and have been through all of this training and seminars and gotten past all of your fears and traumas that have held you back in your life. This is not going to take that. In fact, this is completely transactional. You can completely eliminate the emotions from it, just like I did with the paper out. I needed the $600 a month. So I woke up at 4:30 every morning, and for 2 hours, I delivered 200 newspapers. There was no emotion to that. It was completely transactional. Well, I'm asking you to look at this in that way, okay? And then be able to create all the emotional experiences and memories that you want to, because you have the finances to be able to do it. All right, so Jimmy Smith, he's going to turn 98 here pretty soon. He started Isogenics when he was 72 years old, and he learned a lot of things previous to Isogenics that helped him to, have the success that he had when he got into Isogenics. And at this point, I believe he's earned over $100 million in Isogenics. And so he taught the power of two and what we call 100 in qualified volume. And if you're familiar with Robert Kiyosaki, he wrote the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books, and he talks about the cash flow quadrant and how most people, 95% of people, end up on this left side where they're trading time for money and they end up broke. They don't fulfill their life of freedom and abundance on the level that they would like to, but they're striving to. And then there's the 5% of people who are on the right side of the quadrant where they have big money and they can invest that money and they can build something called compounding or leverage. And this is what we're going to talk about, compounding, because this is what I learned from Jimmy Smith when I got into Isogenics. And when I saw it and understood it, because I didn't really understand it, I kind of got some kind of understanding that put me into action, but I didn't really know it like I know now and like I can teach it. And so compounding is really, the bottom line is what gets you on the right side of this quadrant, which really represents living the have it all life, whatever that is for you. Financial freedom, sure, absolutely. That's part of it. But to be able to make the choices and do the things and have the things that you want to do and have. So let's talk about this compounding and how it's represented in the Isogenics compensation plan and the actions that you need to take in order to get on this right side. Having the knowledge isn't going to get you on the right side. It's the behaviors. So Albert Einstein said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. I didn't know about compounding and interest or just compounding in general, the principle, but I learned it through Jimmy Smith, and Jimmy taught it with the penny being doubled for 30 days. And I had never seen this before. So as a mechanic, I had never been introduced to this. I had never had the concept of it. So the way the story goes is if I had $1 million in a briefcase that I could give it to you right now, or would you wait 30 days and I'll compound this penny by the power of two? And at the end of the 30 days, whatever that penny turns into, you could have that. Which would you rather have? Now, I would have took the $1 million. In fact, I think that's what I said in my mind, whether I knew that I knew there was a catch, right? Like there's a catch, right? But I didn't know. So I don't even know what compounding meant with the penny for 30 days. So $1 million sounds a lot more than a penny compounding for 30 days. Because like I said, I don't even know what that meant. However, being ignorant to that, I lost. I did not come out the winner in that scenario. The power of two, it's not just adding two every time, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It's compounding at the power of two. It's doubling. So all we're going to do is just take a calculator, and every time we're just going to hit times 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. So now we have 2 pennies. So the next day, we just go times 2, and now we have 4 pennies. And then the next day, we'd go times 2, and at day 4, we'd have 8 pennies. By the time you get to day 10, each time just times 2, 32 times 2 is 64. At 10 days, you'd have $5.12 if you just put a decimal point there, right? 512 pennies would be $5.12. Doesn't sound anywhere near or close to $1 million that's sitting in that briefcase. And we're a third of the way there, right? So in the next 10 days, which puts us over halfway there, we're only at $5,000, $5,242, which is significantly more than a penny, but again, nowhere near $1 million. Even 5 more days into it, we're only at $167,000. So almost 168,000, nowhere near $1 million, but it is growing exponentially. And like Einstein said, this is the eighth wonder of the world, because over the next 5 days, the compounding really kicks in and it's $5.3 million. So had I just held out, and the greatest benefit happened on those last 5 days, right? It was compounding here at the same rate, but as time goes on, it gets dramatically more, increases dramatically more. Okay, so that's the example of what Einstein's talking about. And there's a couple more scenarios here that are kind of mind-boggling, so mind-boggling that they're even hard to comprehend. So I saw a video where it talked about filling up a football stadium, NFL football stadium, at the same rate with a drop of water, and doing it every second. And so how many seconds would it take, or minutes or hours or days, to fill up that stadium, compounding at the power of 2? 1 drop, then 2 drops, then 4 drops every second, right? How many minutes, hours, or days? It was only 47 seconds. 47 seconds. And so I did the math on the calculator, and at 10 seconds more, so if this was the 30th second, there's 5 million drops. In 10 seconds, we completely bypassed the whole range of a billion and got into 82 trillion at 40 seconds. So from 5 million to 82 trillion in 10 seconds at the geometric progression of 2. And that's why in just 7 more seconds, that thing is overflowing like Niagara Falls, just spilling over the top of the stadium. That started out with 1 drop, and in less than a minute later, it's doing that compounding. Okay, that's hard to comprehend, right? It's like, how many dollar bills would you have to stack to reach the moon? It's not, I don't even think it's a trillion. I remember hearing it. But it's like, it's crazy when we talk about billions and trillions, right? So how do we manifest that in our compensation plan, in Isogenics? How can we start compounding our income through consuming a product, a health product that's going to change our lives? And we've talked about the Forever Pack with the telomere support and our amazing meal replacement shake. So the qualified volume is where we start compounding our income. It's called qualified volume. You could call it product points. You could call it business volume. Isogenics uses both qualified volume and business volume. I like product points. If you order 100 in product points, you're qualified to start compounding your income, just like we see with the penny and just like we see with the drops of water. All right, so what's a qualified volume order? 1 canister of shake, which would be 14 mils, and a month's supply of the telomere support. So our Forever Pack is really at least 2 canisters of shake, so that you could do a shake a day for a month. This would only give you a half a month of meal replacements. So you could do breakfast for half a month. The better scenario for your health is to have 2 canisters of shake. But we can reach exactly 100 in qualified volume, which is 1 canister of the performance protein meal replacement shake and 1 month supply of the telomere support. I'll show you that later, how that comes out, and the steps that we do to make that happen. However, once we create 2 customers for the company, now the company will pay me a percentage of every product that's sold in my organization. And when I say my organization, I've shared it with 2 people. I sponsored them. They got their own website. That website is linked to me through the software of the computer, and it knows that they're in my group. So every time they order products, I'm going to get paid a percentage of their product orders for the rest of my life. I'm still getting paid today on people who signed up 20 years ago who are ordering products every month because they love them. And so I get paid a percentage. So that's a passive residual income because they're ordering from the company now, not me, for the last 20 years. But I do get paid on that every time they order. And if they share with people, then I get paid on their orders too, because I get paid a percentage of everybody's orders in my entire organization with no blocking, no breakaways, no additional qualifications. It's just when products move, I get paid. And Isagenix has figured out how to do that, kind of like an insurance actuary where everybody pays in and the money's there when you need it, right? They use that kind of principle to create this compensation plan where I can get paid on everybody, no matter how far away they get from me, no matter how many generations. And I only have two teams, a left team and a right team. So improving my health and helping two people to improve their health, I now get on the right side of the quadrant. I'm doing the actions. Financially, I'm not there yet because you have to make over 300,000 a year to be on that right side, according to Robert Kiyosaki, and it needs to be passive leveraged income. But I'm doing the behaviors that those people have done on that side to do that, to create that kind of income and where they have their time freedom. So when those four people get started, I'm now on what, level 3? There's the four people. I'm getting paid on all of them because I did the first two steps. The penny doubled. I got two people started on a qualified volume order. And they do the same thing. Now they're manifesting the same thing I did for them personally. But I'm benefiting from all of it. And on the next level, these four people do the same thing I did. So everybody's really just at step 1 and step 2. It looks bigger, it looks like more work, but it's not any more work than I did. And there's no more qualified volume that anybody needs to order, just the minimum 100 or more. And again, they're all doing a very simple step that I did. It was easy for me to do that. And it's easy for them to do that. But you look at the bigger picture, and this is why I'm getting paid the income that I am and the amount of money that I made is because I'm getting paid on very simple efforts that are just being duplicated over and over and over, just like the penny being doubled. So you can see now this person's getting paid on all of those people, 4, 5, 6, and even their own orders. So 7 orders that are going through, that person's getting paid on. These people are getting paid on those 2. I'm getting paid on all of it because I get paid on every single person's order. So do you see how it's duplicated through the power of 2? Now, if we just progress that out, and this is where it really got me, when I understood this concept of, okay, I'm ordering some product, I was already eating breakfast, I was already taking supplements, they weren't working, but I was taking them, and I was working out and doing all the things, but I wasn't getting the results like I got on the Isagenix product. So to me, I was already spending this kind of money. The shake replaces breakfast. I was already eating breakfast. So there wasn't, like I said, I didn't have any extra money, this little nest egg to be able to invest and risk in an investment. I was already eating breakfast. There was no risk in it. And it had a 30-day money back guarantee. Now, I'm going to talk about it in the second part of this presentation, but you take that emotional side out of it and just put the transactional, like I did with the paper out. I need money. I'm going to wake up at 4:30. There was no love for that. There really was. I didn't enjoy it, but I didn't hate it either. I mean, I appreciated the fact that I could have the paper out and it would bring $600, but there was no emotional attachment either way. I just did it, right? So if you look at that this way, at 13 levels of the power of 2. So I stopped at 10 just because I wanted to make a bigger jump instead of going through it all. But at the 13th level, everybody ordering the minimal amount of qualified volume, which is 100 product points, right? 100 in qualified volume. On 13 levels, add all those people up doing that every month, you'd make over $50,000 a month. Passive residual income. I've done that. I've nearly doubled that in the 20 years. What an amazing life to have your health and your financial freedom and abundance to do what you want and having the health to be able to do it. So this is an amazing impact that we can make in the world. But really what I want to focus on here is millionaire makers. How many millionaires can we make? Isagenix is at 449 millionaires right now. So I just want to impress upon you Nobody's doing anything special. If you just break it back down to, I shared it with two people who are eating the qualified volume, which they were already doing, but now they're getting better benefits from the products they're using. But they're now able to have that transaction where money's being deposited in the bank based on what these behaviors they're doing. And it's happening on the right side of the quadrant. This is compounding here. Just like with the penny, just like with the water, we're doing it with our income now. And that's what people on the right side of the quadrant do. And 95% of people on the left side of the quadrant, they don't do this. All right, so you can see the difference. So how many people know about this? Not as many as should, because there'd be a lot more people doing it because they want to get on the right side of the quadrant. And if they truly understood this, they would do the behaviors that get them on the right side of the quadrant instead of having that disconnect and being frustrated. So again, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it, uses it, earns it. He who doesn't pays it. So when Jimmy Smith taught me this, I didn't fully understand it in the way that I can teach it now, but I understood it enough. And did I have some hesitations and some fears? Sure. But I didn't let those hold me back. I was talking with my wife the other day who, because of our financial freedom and our kids getting older, she decided she wanted to go back to school. She loves school, right? And she's on her PhD now. She's just about, she's wrapping up her PhD for psychology. She fell in love with that field. And we were talking just in a normal conversation, but she said something that I want to pass on here. She said, when something is presented to us that's new, the nervous system kicks in and it causes fear and hesitation. Fear and hesitation. And in this area right here, some income was coming in because I'm getting paid on the product orders, right? And so they would pay us on a debit card. I have it here somewhere. I should have had it where I could show it to you. We haven't used those in over a decade. But when Isogenics first started, that's how we got paid. And it was on a debit card and they would just load the money on there. And I remember thinking, okay, there's got to be money on here. I know I've been getting paid these commissions and it's been loading on the card. Let's go out to dinner. Let's take the family to a restaurant that we'd never been to before. So we took the 5 kids. So there were 7 of us. And we went to a restaurant we had never gone before because I had extra money on that card. And there was some hesitation when I handed it to pay the bill to the waitress. I said, yeah, this is a new card with a company that I've, a home-based business that I'm doing. And they said they pay us on this card. So the money should be on here. And let me know if there's any problems. I don't know what I would have done if there was any problems because that's how I was going to pay for it. And she came back and she said, that actually went through faster than most cards. So yep, you're good. I paid for it. But my fear and hesitation, right? But I didn't let that hold me back from taking my family to the restaurant we had never been to before. And there was some reconfirming evidences of other people who had that card that lived in the town where I live here in St. George, Utah. And they didn't have any problems with their cards. In fact, they were talking about things that they were buying with it and how cool it was. And so, but I still had some fear and hesitation, but I didn't let that hold me back. That's my point. And this is new. I mean, I was getting paid in a way that I never got paid before. I was a mechanic. We got paid twice a month. The service manager would get the checks and he'd bring them out and everything stopped. Like everything came to a standstill and everybody wanted their check, right? And they would flip through them and there's your check. And then I would take that check that said how much I made and I'd take it to the bank, deposit it, and then I could write out checks or, pull some cash out. That's how I knew I had the money. This was different. It was just being loaded on invisibly, right, onto this card. And I was getting it in a way that I'd never gotten it before. Like I was just sharing this message with people and helping them find solutions with their health. They ordered some products from the company and I was getting paid for that. It was kind of like this invisible thing that was happening. So it was an unknown to me. However, it paid for the dinner. And then as we progressed, and one of the things, my kids always needed new clothes. They were growing fast. If you're a parent, they just grow like weeds when they're getting into their older years, young teenagers and pre-teenagers. And my son was wearing floods to school. We would get hand-me-down clothes from cousins because, we couldn't buy them new clothes every time they needed it. I remember duct taping my son's shoes. I mean, that almost wants to bring tears to my eyes right now, just thinking about that, right? And what he had to probably go through at school and whatnot. We had a broken window on the front of the house. It stayed broken for years. It stayed in place and it was kind of double planed, but it was like the spider web of broken glass on the biggest front window of the house. It was a 1,300 square foot home and 3 bedrooms, 7 of us, right? You can get the picture. Anyways, that's where we were at. We were struggling and you just do it, right? That's the way it is. We had a Dodge Caravan with wood paneling on the side. It was dark purple, like a maroon color. And there was a issue with these Dodge Caravans that year where the oil would leak down into the cylinder. And when you came to a stoplight, it would just smoke out the back. And I knew how to fix it, but that was a big job. And doing the paper route, working on cars all day and working on my night, I didn't want to work on my own car. I could fix it, but I didn't want to. Finally, I did. I took the whole engine apart and did the job right. But prior to that, I learned how to creep up to a stoplight when it was red, like 100 yards back, so that I wouldn't be sitting there idling and it would start smoking. If you stopped at a stoplight, it started smoking, like this kind of smoke to the people behind, right? And those are just the things that you put up with when you're struggling financially. In this area, I got to buy my wife a new Honda Odyssey van. How proud I was, and what that did for me and what that did for her to be able to drive that van around, and just like it was so fulfilling to me to be able to bestow that right on my wife and my family. And in this area right here, and it happened at about 9 months, we moved into our dream home, a 5,000 square foot home, brand new. We went from a 1,300 square foot home that was just way too small and in need of repairs to a brand new 5,000 square foot home. All my kids, they all got their own bedroom. The backyard wasn't finished. It was a brand new home. We put a pool in, we put an in-ground trampoline, we put a basketball court, we had a play area with this really cool like Nerf stuff that you put on the ground, and a play area for the kids, and then eventually the grandkids. We raised our kids in that home for 20 years. Now we're living in our dream retirement home here in a brand new community, me and my wife. But how cool was that, right? To be able to do these things and then take vacations. The only vacations we ever took, which was cool, I appreciated it. My parents lived in Anaheim. That's where I grew up. And so we would stay at my parents' house and then we'd go to Disneyland and the beach. And we couldn't afford a hotel and Disneyland. The gas was hard enough. Like sometimes I even borrowed money from my parents to have gas to come down. And we'd pack into our Honda Civic, had hundreds of thousands, over 200,000 miles on it. I could keep it running, right, in the Honda Civic. And we had the Dodge Caravan as well. But in previous vacations before we got the Dodge Caravan, we'd drive that Honda Civic. And just crazy what we do, right? And what we have to put up with. And again, I was grateful. But now, one of the best vacations we ever took, we got to stay in the Disneyland Hotel for 5 days and go to Disneyland for 5 days, go to the beach. We even went to Catalina Island and we got one of the really nice gazebos. It was $500 just to rent that gazebo at the very front. Nobody had rented it. They rented the little ones in the back. And I said, how much is that one? They're like, $500. I said, I'll take it. And the guy's jaw almost dropped, It's like, nobody ever rents this thing, right? $500. I didn't even hesitate. I had plenty of money to be able to do that. One of my best vacations ever was that vacation. So memorable. And we didn't have to sleep on my parents' floor in their couch, right? So I want this for everybody. I want you to build your own memories and your own quality time, whatever that is for you. And it takes money to do that. Most people are trying to get to the right side of the quadrant. They're working really hard, putting in extra hours, looking for a better job that pays more, or maybe thinking about going into education, taking a secondary education to try and improve their degree or whatnot, to get a pay raise. You could do this right now. I'm going to show you on part 2 here, the exact steps that you need to do to create this. And you can do them. And so can anybody you know. All right. So this is an email I got. We're in January right now, depending when you watch this video, January 2026. Our big celebration is next week. And they said, yeah, we're going to celebrate you. They have different ranks that, they recognize you at. And they have the 1 million accumulative earners. Then they have 5 million. Then they have 10 million. Then I think it jumps up to 20 million. And we're going to be recognized. This is the email that I got. We're going to be in the 10 million plus. I think we're coming up on 12 million now. but I'll be recognized in this category on the stage. And 449 people will be recognized for accumulating $1 million in Isagenix. This was just posted on the website this month, on Facebook, Isagenix Business, Facebook group. 449 millionaires now in Isagenix. It should be way higher than that. With this presentation, I'm hoping to really just crush it and become millionaire makers and get us over 1,000 millionaires in Isagenix. And so I'm going to jump into part two now that goes into the exact behaviors that we need to do